I bought a property in and what they do for you is they give you the property.
Hey yo, chill the fuck out, yo. You sitting there playing with the
Hello, and welcome. ReZero is back, and I feel the need to tell you about it because it's not like Crunchyroll is actually marketing this series. Which is a shame, because if there's any anime you should be watching this season, it's ReZero. Here's a perfect reason why you should do so. However, as great as ReZero is, I'm not actually going to talk about it in this video. I'll save it for another one coming soon. So instead, I found another 4 isekai that you probably don't care about airing right now, which is why you should join me as I continue my journey to discover the perfect anime. Starting off with Headhunted to Another World, from Salaryman to Big 4. Here, Denosuke Uchimura is a competent and thorough Japanese salaryman whose work has never been properly recognized, as he's constantly shuffled from country to country for business negotiations. One day he appears in the Demon Lord's LinkedIn search, but since he wasn't paying for premium, he didn't know he was trying to connect with them until he's forcibly isekai'd and offered a job by the Demon Lord. Turns out it's a pretty good deal, as the Demon Lord offers a full benefits package, recognizes growth, prioritizes interpersonal communication skills, and wants to support its employees to the fullest. So it makes sense a boss this good can only be found in a fantasy world. He even gives Uchimura the option of going back to Earth, but I don't know, man. What's more appealing to you? Handling business relations for a demon lord, spending every day with your demon girl waifu, constantly being praised and rewarded by your boss, or going back to your life as a Japanese salaryman? I know what I would choose. I mean, why do you think there's so much isekai made anyway? Uchimura is given an entrance exam, as you will, to determine if he's fit to become a member of the Big 4, the elite generals of the Demon Lord's army. He's tasked with establishing rapport and building a successful relationship with the representative of the Minotaur tribe so he can aid the Demon Lord and join his army. Unfortunately, none of the other generals have been able to do so until Uchimura is able to step up with his own experience in the matter. In the past, his unsupportive company ditched him in the middle of Philadelphia with no knowledge of the vibrant culture, beautiful customs, and colorful language the locals embrace, leading him to adapt, learn, and extend a laurel and hearty handshake in pursuit of professionalism. With the Minotaur tribe accepted into the Demon Lord's army, Uchimura is rewarded with the rank of General of Water, which doesn't make any sense to me because the only time he's ever made someone wet is me when he says his catchphrase.
It's time to settle this account.
Sorry about that. What follows are the ever-ongoings of a man committed to his job, and since this is an isekai, that includes the occasional boar fight too. Uchimura isn't like your standard isekai protagonist, as for one, he's in his 30s. And two, he isn't driven by a desire to build a harem or get stronger. He's got a job. He's got responsibilities. Work doesn't end at 5 p.m. for him. He's given a management role, and in a world without HR, it's his duty to make sure that the ledgers get audited, the supplies get demanded, the merchandise gets marketed, and the waifus get rizzed. Everything is worth it when you're working for an employer who's quick to recognize your value and potential. And if being a salaryman is a perfect fantasy for you, then good news. There's another isekai this season that you should check out with From Bureaucrat to Villainess, Dad's been reincarnated. Alright, before I go any further, I should explain one of the most popular isekai subgenres of recent years, the Villainess isekai. This genre is based around the main character being isekai'd into an otome visual novel game where they play the role as a villainess rather than the hero. Instead of typical isekai shenanigans, Villainess isekai usually has a protagonist already know the story's events in advance and work to prevent them, since the villainess of otome games usually ends up dead at the end. There's been a lot of Villainess isekai made, and there's no doubt going to be many more to come in the future. And I, for one, enjoy this genre. Sure, it doesn't have elf harems or circle towns, but it's primarily carried by having a really strong and likable MC, who's usually more focused on survival or actually being a villainess. However, out of all the Villainess isekai I've seen, I haven't seen one where the main character wasn't an overworked young woman or a teenage girl, but instead, a dad. That's right, Kenzaburo Tonobayashi was your typical middle-aged salaryman father who was hit by a wandering truck-kun as he saved a kid's life and was isekai'd into an otome game that he didn't play, but his daughter did. Uncharted. Yeah, most Villainess Isekai had the protagonist play the game, but Kenzaburo only watched it. Though, at the very least, he does have a good amount of knowledge about the game since he's a proud otaku father, with an otaku wife, an otaku family, and encouraged his daughter's interests. As it turns out, being a supportive dad has its benefits, as he's isekai'd as Grace Avern, the villainess of his daughter's favorite otome game, and he discovers quickly that this is not his beautiful wife, this is not his beautiful house.
How did I get here?
This actually reminds me of one of the first anime I ranked for my channel, Endo and Kobayashi Alive, the latest on tsundere villainess Lisa Latte, which was a pretty good show even if it did get a bit weird at the end. But just like in that anime, you've got two people commentating over the events of the game since his wife and daughter are able to watch his every move, and even help out once in a while. You see, Kenzaburo is currently in a coma, but if they get the good ending, maybe he'll be okay. After all, he was hit by a truck head-on with no physical damage. Back in the otome world, Grace quickly discovers that her reputation precedes her. Everywhere she goes, lesser souls quake in fear of facing her wrath. As it turns out, Kenzaburo really sucks at being a villainess, but he's great at being a father. That's right, he's a real dilf. A damsel I learn is a father. Yeah, let's go with that. Fortunately, nobody catches on too much that Grace isn't who she's supposed to be. Nobody ever says, hey, what's a dad doing in a villainess anime? Because rather than be the drama queen Grace was born to be, she's much more focused on being a supportive, caring, and kind individual who's casually rizzing up the entire cast left and right. And if I haven't made it clear yet, I'm loving this anime. It's taking the villainess isekai otome concept and just running with it. Rather than being reincarnated as himself or an idealized version, he's someone he never imagined he'd be, but isn't too put off by it. I'd like to see more isekai where the main character is a completely different person than who they were previously. Even though he still takes a fatherly approach to interacting with all the other students, sometimes you're just too good at your job, and adjusting to the tasks of another one can prove to be counterproductive, or overproductive. The Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world is an anime that I was hoping would be loud, over the top, and wouldn't take itself too seriously. And I got just that. Togo Asagaki is the titular Red Ranger of the Kizuna 5, the 5 strongest warriors of the modern era, until one day while fighting the final boss, he's suddenly isekai'd and doesn't really adapt to the fantasy world at all. He still treats all of his enemies like it's a Saturday morning TV show. Anytime he transforms, he's complimented with his own theme music, which will really grow some hair in your chest.
These things are lame.
He spawns random explosions that of course he doesn't look at, and the English is oh so gruesome. Very good! Now, if you aren't aware, this isn't just another isekai, it's also a rare Sentai anime, and Sentai is an entire genre that can best be explained by Power Rangers. Anything that looks like Power Rangers, there you go, it's Sentai. I know Super Sentai is what Power Rangers is based off of, but the vast majority of my audience aren't Japanese, so I'm assuming that most of you are at least familiar with Power Rangers, which is a series that I am not familiar with myself. I didn't grow up with the Power Rangers. My cousins did. I would watch it over at their house when I was a kid, but the show never really had much of an impact on me. Which sucks, because looking back, this is fucking awesome. I would have absolutely eaten up anything Power Rangers as a kid. The reason I'm on this tangent is because Sentai series are the exact opposite of subtle. There's no mystery to Togo, the Red Ranger. He doesn't just wear his heart on his sleeve, he shoots it out as bullets, and fortunately his giant Mechazord came with him to this fantasy world. However, he can't pilot it alone. That's where the rest of the cast comes into play, namely Ydra. And good lord, woo boy, I'd gladly form the head with her.
Y'all could do the treading, swing energy machete. If combination's ready, I'll form the head, I'll form the head, I'll form the head.
She has a big hat and even bigger staff. There's some other adventurers who join in, but more importantly are the bonds they form with him, sometimes physically. Now, while I'm not familiar with Sentai, I am familiar with Isekai. And I appreciate any isekai that isn't afraid of sticking to the weirdest idea out there and just running with it. And this anime runs with it.
Team Rocket's blasting off again!
Red Ranger in Another World is so stupid. I love it. Togo may have been the one to get isekai'd, but now it's everyone else living in his own world. And it's a world of happiness and getting along. Those bonds he's forming with his party members comes into play as his weapons and the mech are dependent on strong relationships, since after all, their sworn enemies from Earth are the relationship enders led by the Breakup King. One of his lieutenants is named Rejection Drop. I love anime. The Red Ranger brings a hug to his sword fight. He becomes more powerful, forging bonds like he's playing Persona. One of his weapons is a marriage gun, which just fucking kills people. He fights with band-aids because he got them from Tomori from Bang Dream It's My Go. Side note, make sure you're watching Ave Michika this season, it's peak. Red is like that one friend of yours who always plays a lawful good human paladin in Dungeons and Dragons. He stops at red lights in GTA. His favorite superheroes are Superman and Captain America. He thinks Idra's butler is named Sebastian because he's a Konosuba fan. He's probably an Eagle Scout. There's a way to describe people like that, and it's really cool guy. He's still in an isekai though, and there's no galactic emperor to defeat, but a demon king. Demon Queen, and I think he's got the right party to help him out. Do you think most adventurers would know how to pilot a Mechazord? Neither do these guys. But we're going from fighting with band-aids to an OP done by Bandmaid with Zenshu. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't pronounce it correctly. It's a brand new MAPPA anime this season. And I know you're thinking, oh boy, MAPPA made an anime about an animator. Is she rewarded for her hard work and get at least 8 hours of sleep a night? But I gotta admit, I had no idea where this anime would end up, as the main character, Natsuko Hirose, a star animator, gets isekai'd right after dying of food poisoning. That's a new one. Gotta update the list. Natsuko is isekai'd to the world of A Tale of Perishing, which was the anime that inspired her to become an animator at a young age. She's dedicated her entire life to animation after watching a movie that was about as successful as Happy Feet 2, as it bombed at the box office and was forgotten by the public at large. Still though, it's carried her a longer path in life, and now she's living in it, which would be great if this world didn't suck. Most civilizations have been wiped out already, and the one that remains isn't all that special. The best drink they've got is milk beer. Ew. The world is defended by only a few heroes remaining. Unio, a magical unicorn who would have been all the rage 12 years ago. Memolin, an elf who made me consider covering this anime in my next elf video. QJ, a clay doll. Justice, who was a former elite dragon like Joe Flacco. And Luke Braveheart, who was the protagonist of A Tale of Perishing. But now he's supporting Natsuko as she proves herself worthy to join forces with them, after unleashing her ability. Animation. I love these scenes. The summons she's able to make are artistically distinct from everything else, but still fit into this world and pay homage to different animation styles from classical anime, and she even introduces elves to idol anime. In fact, this whole show is very reminiscent of older anime and isekai. It's so bleak and visually darker than most isekai. This isn't a world you'd want to be in, and on top of that, the main character is female. Yeah, isekai used to be a predominantly female-led genre. I'm talking Inuyasha, Escaflowne, Magic Knight Rayearth, 12 Kingdoms, arguably Spirited Away too. Isekai about relatively normal girls suddenly in an unfamiliar fantasy world as they try to get back home. And I'd just like to say I enjoy trashy harem isekai as much as the next guy, but I'm all in favor if we get more classical feeling isekai like those in the future. I like isekai that present a bleak and weakened world where power struggles are commonplace, and the MC has to cement herself as capable in order to survive or thrive. And with the retro style of the series, it makes sense that MAPPA just did the Ranma 1/2 remake, since I feel like Zenshu was made as a big love letter to anime in general. However, Natsuko's animation ability does have its downsides, much like working in the anime industry. She can't draw the same thing more than once, and while her animation ability speeds up her time, it does cause her to pass out asleep afterwards, for as long as it would have taken to make what she created in the real world. For instance, if an animation would have taken her 3 days in the studio, she'd be asleep for 3 days after creating it. And if she made that one film that's been worked on for over 40 years now, then I'm sure by the end of it she'd grow old enough to maybe run for Congress. probably not. And I really do respect Natsuko's work ethic. She even reminds me of myself, since I once went 3 years without getting my hair cut. That's not a joke, by the way. But with Zenshu being an anime original, it's honestly pretty hard to describe it in greater detail other than it's an isekai. Which, I mean, of course it is, it's in this video. Would I ever cover an anime and an isekai video that wasn't an isekai? I'm not trying to predict what will happen next because I just want to see how Natsuko makes the most of this world and what becomes of this anime. They're definitely cooking something here. A recent episode didn't really have anything to do with the isekai world itself, and instead it was about Natsuko's past, and honestly it was one of the best episodes of anime from this year so far. Where this anime takes us, what more we uncover of this world, what Natsuko animates next, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, as it brings us one step closer to finding the perfect anime. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to sub for more. I love making these isekai videos. The next season doesn't look like we're going to have too many isekai, so I made this video early this time. However, I'm more than okay with making isekai-centered videos more often, since after all, it's my most popular series I've done so far. There might be a few other isekai this season, but some are pretty elf-heavy, so stay tuned for my next elf video coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.